The question was, do they have restriction on well water? Yes, the most they'll allow is a domestic use of 1/2 acre. And so if you water more than a 1/2 acre, the neighbors are going to be calling. It's kind of self-regulated. Now, most wells will be no greater than about 25 gallons a minute. And that's overkill for a 1/2 acre. But you're just throwing your money away if you put in a great big pump. Because once you get your 1/2 acre waters, if you can water it real fast, you're using the same total number of gallons over, say, a week or a month. It's just if you do it in 2 hours, or if it takes you 10 hours to get the same job done, it's still the same total gallons of water that you're using to get enough water to grow whatever you're growing on your 1/2 acre. That's all you're going to get, 1/2 acre. And it's, now the state does have, like I say, the Department of Ecology to monitor that. One guy in all of eastern Washington, I don't think he's going to cover every 10-acre pasture. But I tell you who regulates it, your next door neighbor regulates it. Because they don't want you pumping a whole bunch of water in your neighborhood, because what's going to happen to the water table? Potentially it's going to drop and screw up their water supply. And they sure don't want you taking what they consider as their water. So it's pretty well self-regulated. Really holds true in a stream. All these little creeks going through Walla Walla. A lot of homeowners have water rights on those creeks. And they can put their little pump in there and pump out of it. But they might only be allowed 5 gallons a minute. So it takes a long time to water a lawn at 5 gallons a minute. You're moving one sprinkler a whole lot of times. But they can run it 24 hours a day non-stop. So that's an option they have. Now what happens a lot of times is a whole group of them will get together and agree on who's going to use the water which days, and then run 20 gallons a minute at a time. And water and say, okay, I'm going to water in the morning and you take the evening, and you have 5 gallons a minute and I have 5 gallons a minute. We'll each use 10. But we'll water, you get 12 hours, I get 12 hours. And they work out little deals amongst themselves because they're the ones that they're fighting over the water. And then they do that and it works out fine. They kind of make little community agreements. Now, whether or not that's totally legal, if the state came in and evaluated, it might not be. But as long as everybody's happy, it was a great coming together of uses to get maximum benefit for everybody in the plan. And so as long as nobody complains, the state isn't going to come in and make a big issue of it. If somebody complains, it might ruin the whole thing, and that all goes out the window. But you can see how it would be nice to be able to irrigate for only maybe 6 hours and have 20 gallons a minute, and share with 4 people that all had 5. So you get 6 hours, then that guy gets 6 hours, and that guy gets 6 hours, and then that guy gets 6 hours. And so your water's only running for 6 hours a day. You don't have to babysit it 24 hours a day and move a whole bunch of, like one sprinkler head a whole bunch of times. You can water in blocks like you normally would expect to do a turf area, and have it all watered up every day in your 6-hour cycle. And it'll work out just perfect. And everybody would get the right allocation. It would just be the timing that was slightly skewed. But the same amount of water was being drawn out of the stream at every given minute of that 24-hour period. So nobody downstream could get upset about it, because you're just using what was allocated for that area. And there's an awful lot of these little streams through this town. They all come into Mill Creek, so they're all part of the Mill Creek water right scheme. You just can't go, if you buy a house along one of these little streams, you just can't go throw a pump in the creek. If you don't have a water right, you have no right to throw a pump in that stream. And I'll guarantee you, if you do, there will be a neighbor along there that's going to be right in the middle of your backyard screaming and shouting and threatening to call the sheriff. And that's who does effectively come in and monitor that, is they just call the sheriff's department, and the sheriff will come out and take care of business.
So that is being illegal.